Good journey, everyone. Welcome to Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. I am the Crucial Crew member Jay, and we are going to talk about some Star Wars tonight, like we always do each and every week. Thank you for joining me if you're joining me, and if not, thank you for watching this. If you're watching this later, just be sure to subscribe to this. I usually do this every Tuesday night or Wednesday night. Last night I was like super tired. I got home and I fell asleep and got up and I was like, I could do this, but I didn't know if I was really there and with it and wanted to just wait for today. But yesterday was really a fun day. I got to spend it with some great people, some Star Cruiser people, which are always great people, right? And we had some fun at Galaxy's Edge yesterday. Saw some familiar faces in the lieutenant yesterday, roaming around Batu, and had some interactions with stormtroopers. Had some fun at Oga's, even though Oga's doesn't like to have as much fun anymore. And yeah, so but we have Bad Batch, and I am not going to talk about this week's episode of Bad Batch that came out today. Not going to talk about that because yesterday it wouldn't have came out, and I wouldn't have talked about it. I've watched it once already, but I'm probably going to watch it again. Um, but tonight is more going to be about last week's episode of Bad Batch. So last week's episode of Bad Batch was um, a different approach. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about that episode and what your thoughts are on that, what my thoughts are on that, and how it kind of prepped us for this week. Like I said, we're not going to talk about this week's episode, so we're going to hold off on that. We're going to let everybody get a chance to watch that episode, and then we're going to dive into that next week. But yeah, but we got our Not This Long Ago in This Galaxy segment. We got some Bad Batch discussion from last week's episode again. We're going to talk about some book releases that happened this week. We're going to talk about some announcements of new physical media, which is great to have physical media. Are you a physical media person? Do you still buy DVDs, Blu-rays? What gets you to do that? What makes you want to do that? We'll talk about some of the new releases that are coming out for that, if that's if that's your thing. And then we're gonna talk about something new at the Disney parks that we've heard about. It was announced at Celebration last year, and we knew it was coming this year, and it's here. It came quick, and it's not here on the East Coast yet, but pretty soon. So excited about that. We'll get into that as well a little bit later. But first things first. We got to do our Not Long Ago in This Galaxy segment, which is what I do usually every day on my Instagram page. But I will have to say, first of all, I apologize. If you followed me on Instagram, apologies for me not going live at all last week. There's a reason for that. My car was in the shop. So as you know, I do this segment when I'm on my way to work. So it's in the car, it's live. I talk about something that's happened in Star Wars history that is not long ago in this galaxy. And yeah, I didn't have like my phone stand, so like doing that hands free was not going to happen. So because I was driving a different car all week. So unfortunately that didn't happen, but I was posting pretty much every day the Not Long Ago in This Galaxy um, little tidbits each and every day. So hopefully that was good enough for you. I know a lot of people that actually watched that were on the Disney Wish last week, which was amazing. It looked really fun, and I talked to some of the passengers that went on that cruise, and it sounded like a fantastic voyage. So wish I could have been there on the Wish with you guys. And till next time, till another Wish Upon a Star Cruiser or whatever it's going to be in the future when we do all these meetups. It's always great to be able to have fun meeting up with some fantastic people that were met and have become friends from the Star Cruiser. But today, not long ago in this galaxy, was a Clone Wars episode, which was a really cool Clone Wars episode. Probably one of my more favorite story arcs of the first season of the Clone Wars. And that would happen March the 6th, 2009. So March the 6th, 2009, the Star Wars The Clone Wars episode, the first season episode, Innocence of Ryloth, aired on Cartoon Network for the first time in the US. Innocence of Ryloth was one of those awesome story arcs that was pretty amazing, gave us a really cool story from a couple different perspectives in that story arc. And it all kind of had different characters that were like the focal point of that story arc there. But it was season 1 episode. It was episode 20. So kind of getting closer to the end of that season. Episode 20 it was actually, as far as production, it was produced a little bit earlier. So it was like the 17th episode produced, but released as episode 20. Like I said, it aired March 6, 2009. The runtime was about 26 minutes, which is about usual for those segments because there were commercials on Cartoon Network. So that was about the normal average runtime for those episodes. The director was Justin Ridge. The writers, some familiar writers there. Henry Gilroy, fantastic writer, was the writer of that. There was a couple other supervising writers, Scott Murphy and co-writer Randy Stradley. The timeline for this was about 21 years before the Battle of Yavin. And like I said, this was a story arc. So the first episode was Storm over Ryloth, which took place mostly in space, the space battle with Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka. And, a very big learning experience for Ahsoka because of a mistake in the plan and a lot of clones dying, and kind of like Ahsoka really seeing the intensity of war at that moment. This kind of takes place around the same time as, like right before what we see in Ahsoka with the flashback scene of Anakin and Ahsoka, because it was that first battle that Ahsoka kind of like they were assigned to. So this actually kind of happens like right before that experience that was flashbacked, or we were brought to in the World Between Worlds with Ahsoka and Anakin in that episode of Ahsoka. The episode after Innocence of Ryloth was Liberty on Ryloth. So that was a really good 3-episode story arc over Ryloth. Ryloth, the planet of the Twi'leks, or the Twi'leks, however you like to say it. Whatever your dialect is in the galaxy, as we like to say. And some faces that were in that episode that ended up becoming recurring characters long way in the future, which we'll get into. The Clone Wars moral, as you know, Clone Wars always had a great moral in front of each episode, and the moral episode for Innocence of Ryloth was the costs of war can never be truly accounted for, which is such a true statement. And with the casualties and, even going in and saving individuals from whoever the oppressors are, you're not always going to come out of it with everything perfect in the end. And we kind of see that, the casualties, the after effect of everything that happened in the episode. So Innocence of Ryloth. Again, I really love this episode. It's a great episode. We have a couple different characters that we see in the droid in this series that were kind of firsts. So the tactical droids. The tactical droids was actually, this was the as far as production wise, this was actually the first episode that the tactical droids were making an appearance. They ended up making an appearance earlier in the series once it was released. But these tactical droids were a way to basically eliminate the leader of the bad guys without killing off a major character like Lockdod or anybody like that that we needed to have survive. So it was a way for the heroes to be able to come out with a complete victory and nobody. That's my ESPN notification. Let me turn my notifications off on my phone. But it was a great way to be able to do that. The tactical droids featured in many episodes to come, and yeah, so we got to see them throughout many episodes, and later on in different series as well. Um, a couple of recurring clones appeared in this episode. Waxer and Boyle were really kind of like a main side story in this one, which was really great um, to have those two characters. And again, be able to see the differences in those two clones, but both kind of having this great experience with the natives of Ryloth, which was pretty cool to be able to see that. Obi-Wan Kenobi was basically assigned to this mission. He was the one that made it down to the surface along with the clones, so it was um, his his group of clones that he was leading there. Commander Cody obviously with him by his side, and there's kind of like a precursor to Revenge of the Sith. Well, of course, Revenge of the Sith had already come out, but there's kind of like that foreshadow in chronological order of Cody returning the lightsaber to Obi-Wan Kenobi, because Obi-Wan Kenobi does lose his lightsaber in this as well, and Cody hands it to him like he did on Utapau when Obi-Wan lost his saber there as well. So really cool to be able to kind of see that parallel. I love it when they would do those Easter egg parallels in Star Wars, and they continue to do so. There's also a 1138 reference. If you know of that Easter egg, pops up all the time in Star Wars. The THX 1138 in some way or another pops up a lot, and there is one. It's very hard to see. You have to pause it very quickly or slow it down very quickly. But it's basically the proton cannons when Kenobi goes to operate it. On the screen there, the Arabesh in the upper left corner of the screen reads X11Y38. So kind of referencing that THX 1138 there. Voices that are normally obviously in the Clone Wars all over the place. D. Bradley Baker, obviously the Clone Wars, the Clone Troopers. James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Corey Burton as the tactical droid, as well as Nilam Brill. Matthew Wood as the battle droids, and as Wat Tambor, which appears in a hologram during that episode. Catherine Tabor actually as Numa, which we'll talk about Numa in a minute. Terrence Carson as Mace Windu, very brief in that, and then Tom Kane as always as the narrator of the episodes. But it is going back to the clones, Waxer and Boyle, who are two of the main clones in this episode that we see a lot. They actually were recurring for a while in the Clone Wars series afterwards, kind of taking two separate different paths with different episodes afterwards. Numa, it is her first appearance. Now, Numa is a little Twi'lek, probably about, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 years old, I'm guessing, somewhere around that age. And this is like the coolest part of the story, because she kind of takes to Waxer and Boyle and keeps calling them Nara, which in the end we find out that she's calling them brother, which is a really cool touch, because we know that the clones obviously consider each other brothers, so they have a little adoptive sister in Numa. Numa actually does come back, and we end up seeing her in Rebels actually as older, along with Cham Syndulla. We see her a lot later, so pretty cool to kind of see that character come back at some point, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, so Innocence of Ryloth, a great episode. That is a great story arc. The Ryloth story arc, at least one of those. There's a couple different Ryloth arcs within the Clone Wars, but this one is really great. Again, kind of goes different perspectives, different viewpoints of that battle on the planet Ryloth. So check it out. Innocence of Ryloth premiered again today in 2009. So that is your Not Long Ago in This Galaxy. And let's move on now to The Bad Batch, right? So the Bad Batch episode that we had this week, or this past week, hope everybody watched it, because we're going to talk about it now. So again, we're not going to talk about this week's episode. This week's episode, we are holding off on because I want people to have a chance to watch it. This was last week's episode 4 of The Bad Batch, which was called A Different Approach. And really, we get a good relationship building between Omega and Crosshair in this episode. As we know, at the end of the first 3-episode premiere, they had escaped Tantus and escaped in an Imperial shuttle. It had been damaged in the escape, and were kind of let go because they found out of Omega's importance with being able to hold the M counts. And actually, I'm going to change my picture. And I'm also going to change my video screen, by the way, because I don't want things shaking around while I'm doing this. So, yes, there we go. There we go. So yeah, a different approach. So we got Crosshair and Omega, knowing that they were able to escape Tantus in the Imperial shuttle, looking for a place to set down to basically get somewhere because their ship is damaged. The beginning of A Different Approach actually goes back to Tantus real quick, because it kind of has a little bit of, I think, a setup for the future of the series with going back to Tantus, which I believe still is going to be the kind of like the final hurrah moment for the Bad Batch. I think that, going back to free all the rest of the imprisoned clones that are being experimented on, possibly doing this with Emery being able to have a change of heart, is my guess. Seeing the end of Hemlock, and then also possibly even rescuing Lamasse or Nalase. Nalase. So we see Nalase behind bars now. She's not being able to do her work like she was. I don't think that that's going to be kind of the case. She's going to be under a tight watch now, because it's pretty much guaranteed at this point that it looks like they're realizing that she had a hand in helping Omega escape, because Hemlock pretty much has the feeling that she was hiding this information from them, because the only test that was done without her showed the results that she could hold the M counts. So Nalase tries to cover that up with kind of like false positives can happen, but Hemlock basically not trusting her, telling her that we'll see if that's the case when we capture Omega and bring her back, which is what is thought that's going to happen. But of course, this is the last season. It's not going to happen. If anything, they're coming back. They're coming back to free everyone. And then I think that that's where the last big battle is going to be. So Nalase is behind bars at this point in time. It's kind of a sad start to this episode. But then we go quickly to Omega and Crosshair with basically crashing on this planet. I can't remember what they I don't know if it's the name of the planet, but the Imperial officer on the planet says the name of something, whether it's the town or the planet or whatever. We don't really know for sure. I don't think that it's the name of the planet, but they crash there. They got to figure out, how they're going to get off this planet very quickly. Crosshair kind of wants to, do his thing that he's used to and just kind of go full on the spaceport, and shoot his way out. But he's with Omega now, so Omega is has this um, different outlook on things and different way of doing things, being with the Bad Batch and always kind of being more optimistic, not wanting to hurt anyone, trying to figure a different workaround. So flashing back to her time with Sid, and Sid kind of teaching her, how to gamble, how to play those cards. I don't know what game they're playing. I don't know if anybody knows the game they're playing. It didn't look like Sabacc at all. So I don't know, if we know the name of this game. Obviously there's a way to, let's get some more Star Wars games in the works. Let's get some rules and things with this game. It looked almost like a kind of like a Texas Hold'em style game, but a little bit different. And yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about this game. So, but Omega goes to make some fast credits. We see her actually playing with the Trandoshan, which is kind of a parallel to her learning from Sid, and now she's taking all this money from a Trandoshan in this cantina here on this planet. She wins a lot of credits, but then this Imperial captain comes in and is interested in what's going on, and he takes a seat down, and she beats him as well. Of course, after that, the Empire always has this way around things, so he stops her before she leaves, and basically saying that gambling's illegal. So there's a kind of like a fine that she has to pay. But it still leaves them with enough credits to basically buy their way off, which was the intent, because they had gone to basically see if they can get off on a transport legally. And of course, without having any chain codes, Omega kind of bribes the spaceport official, and it was going to cost 30,000 credits to be able to get off of the spaceport. So for the both of them and Batcher as well. So they would still have about 35,000 credits left. But when they come out of the cantina, Batcher is gone, and there's this little dude outside that was selling cachous or something like that. I forget what he said they were. But he, again, kind of sees them going in, has this feeling that he can probably get some credits out of them, and gets them for their 5,000, but they still have enough. That 30,000 credits. But they go to find Batcher, and Batcher is in this compound full of creatures. The Empire is stocking up on creatures. Who knows what for? Maybe to do some experimentation on them as well. Maybe we'll get a series with some kind of storyline on that at some point, with what the Empire has used to experiment on things. But a lot of Easter eggs in here that tie into Jurassic Park when we get to this area, because there's lots of creatures that look like some dinosaurs. We hear some porgs in some of the crates. We hear some moving of the crates around that sound a lot like in Jurassic Park when they're moving around the steel crates of velociraptors in the original Jurassic Park. A lot of hints to the original Jurassic Park, honestly, in this episode. Which, if you're a fan of Jurassic Park, which I am a fan of the originals, so it was nice to be able to see those. I got a mosquito bite, by the way. I don't know, just coming into the house tonight. It's getting to be mosquito season. It's getting that warm time, and man, do I get them around the house certain times a year. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, a lot of parallels to that. Omega, again, they're trying to rescue Batcher. The Imperial captain comes in. He has figured things out because the shuttle has been found. He basically tells them that the game is up. You might as well hand over all the rest of your credits. Nothing's going to save you. Hemlock's going to come, all of that. Omega kind of reluctantly because this is kind of where the title of this episode comes in, a different approach. A Crosshair kind of letting Omega run the show, and it's a different approach for him, which kind of seems to work. And he's kind of maybe seeing that you don't always have to fight your way out. But then it gets to the point where this plan does not end up going all the way. And if Batcher wouldn't have gotten caught, the plan may have worked. They may have been able to get off the planet with the transport. But the fact that Batcher was taken, that caused the plan to go into a different direction. Now they're stuck. Omega relinquishes the approach to what Crosshair is used to. And now this is kind of different for Omega, as far as now kind of this forceful fighting your way out in a different way. So in the end, they save Batcher. They steal a transport. And then we get to the end of the episode. I know a lot of people say that there was tears at the end of this episode. It was very emotional. I did not cry. I did not cry at this episode. I was rewatching it right now, and I'm actually at the end of this episode right now, with this tearful reunion. And we do see that it's been a long time. You can tell by Wrecker and Hunter, the reaction to finally Omega meeting them again. Kind of like being impressed by Omega, saying that they've crossed the galaxy 5 times trying to find her. And Omega's the one that found them, which gives a lot of credit to Omega. Kind of how did she escape? And then she said she has some help. And then that's when we see Crosshair show himself in the doorway there, and we see this uneasiness from Wrecker and Hunter, the faces, Crosshair, Omega, everybody's face is just, you don't know what's going to happen. Of course, we have the episode this week. We all kind of know what happens from this week, which we're going to talk about next week. So we're not going to get into this episode next week, but I will, for those of you that haven't watched it yet, it's a great episode. It doesn't kind of carry right off from where this one ends. But we still see that uneasiness going through and how it kind of gets worked out. So I think this week's episode was much needed. I love this week's episode. It was great. A lot of callbacks. So enjoy this week's episode of The Bad Batch as well. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Bad Batch so far. I'm enjoying Bad Batch so far this season. So it's been a good series so far. Great episodes. Makes me gonna want to miss it more and more as it gets to the end. So but moving on, yesterday we had a release of a new novel, a new High Republic novel, Defy the Storm. Authors Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland, joint authors on this one. So this is again in phase 3 of the High Republic. So yeah, Defy the Storm came out. I read a little bit of an excerpt from the first chapter. I have it on hold, so we'll be waiting for that to come to me and be looking to read that when it comes out. So if you are a High Republic fan, new publication to go ahead and dive into. So hope you enjoy that if that's the case. And then with Disney Parks news, we have, this was announced last year at, I believe the first announcement was at Celebration in London on Star Wars. The adventure continues, having new planets that we're going to go to. And I think we all kind of knew that it was going to be with the Disney Plus series, that we were going to get this content from. So there's been some updates on what we're going to be able to see. If you want to be spoiler free, I recommend you skip this because I'm going to give some spoilers. So I don't know if any of these photos are from Disney. They do say Star Tours on them, so they're promotional shots. I don't know if like these are the backgrounds of the characters that we're gonna see. My guess is that we're gonna see these characters in the hologram form, and then we're gonna see the planets as well. So Ferrix, I believe, is what we're seeing here with Cassian Andor. So we're gonna see Cassian Andor, Ahsoka with a visit to Peridia, which I was kind of surprised with. But I was thinking more so Lothal would have been a cool pick for Ahsoka because it would stay within this galaxy. But I guess we're gonna jump on or jump in a Purgle and go to Peridia. I don't know how that's gonna work. If we're kind of staying within normal means of travel of Star Tours. And then we're going to have Din Djarin as well as Grogu as well. So, yeah, so it'll be cool to be able to have these characters. The Star Tours Adventures continue starting April 5th everywhere. So, I, being the bitter person that I am with this Disney parks, always saying that Disneyland gets everything first. It looks like we're actually going to get them all at the same time. So April the 5th, I believe, is a Friday. I believe it's a Friday. We are going to get Star Tours The Adventure Continues, new characters, new places to visit. Is when that's going to happen. So yeah, and they said one of several updates. So several to me means more than what I see pictured and what they've said. So maybe we're going to get more as the year goes on, and these are maybe the first three kind of updates that we're going to get. But so the Ahsoka, the Cassian Andor, and the Din Djarin and Grogu are going to be the urgent transmissions. The urgent transmissions are what they're the cutscenes between the two planets that you visit. And again, they come through hologram. So again, we're going to get Cassian Andor, Ahsoka, and Mandalorian and Grogu. We're also going to be able to experience. I'm going to just kind of go through some of these screenshots because my guess is that you're going to see the characters kind of the way they are without the backgrounds is what my idea is as far as the transmissions. If you're not familiar with Star Tours, this is going to kind of up it. There are over 250 storyline variations, not 250 scenes, but variations between the beginnings, the first planet, the incoming transmission, the second planet, and the ending. With combinations, you can get over 250 different experiences in the ride. So it's a lot. I've gotten every single little segment in riding Star Tours, but obviously the combinations, I've probably not had all of the combinations. So Peridia is going to be one of the new planets from the Ahsoka series. The last one that was updated was Kelbur or Kefbur, which is the planet where the Death Star crashed on in Rise of Skywalker, which the last time I rode it was Tuesday. I rode it with some friends, and we got that as one of our experiences or scenes in which I think they have that one kind of rotating in pretty often because it is the newest one. You kind of get that sense of it, that somehow they up it so that it comes out more when it's newer, because that's what everybody wants to ride it and see, right? So Disneyland also starting on April 5th. See, this is where Disneyland gets a little bit better. Hyperspace Mountain is going to be back until June the 2nd. Hyperspace Mountain was there when I was there for Anaheim Celebration 2 years ago, and I have to say, it was quite fun. It was probably my favorite experience of Space Mountain, and it would be cool to have that come to Orlando, but it never has, I don't think. And if it did, it was very short, and I never got to do it out here. Yeah, so that is basically part of the Season of the Force out there in Disneyland. They do a little bit more out there as far as festivities. They have Star Wars nights. I wish we would get some of that stuff out here in Orlando. They have a new fireworks display through the spires of Galaxy's Edge on select nights, which would be amazing to be able to have that in Batu East, but not the case. So again, don't know if anything more than Peridia is going to happen as far as planets being added. But again, Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson doing a cutscene, Din Djarin and Grogu, and Cassian Andor as well. So I'm excited about that. I can't wait. I love Star Tours. I ride it almost every time I go to studios. There's little to no wait. Obviously, the wait's probably going to go up. I'm guessing. I think this is kind of going to be a test for that, honestly, because it has such a fan base. There's no wait time. It's not really drawing a lot of people. I'm wondering if this is something that they want to see if it's a viable ride to continue with. A little bit scared of that because I don't want to see it go away, or I don't want to see it changed into something else themed. I want it to stay Star Wars. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about this. I hope it draws enough attention for people to want to go and ride it. I also wish that they would add more scenes to Smuggler's Run, because we were talking about this on Tuesday when we were there, that they did plan for it to have different places to visit. And I would like to see some updates to Smuggler's Run. I would like to see it go to different planets. Now, especially on the East Coast, we don't have the tie line, the storyline to the Halcyon anymore. You don't have to go and steal Coaxium. We can go somewhere else. It would be great to be able to have that option. So I don't know if that'll ever happen or happen anytime soon, but I would love to see extra things. I mean, there was a recent interview, talking point with Bob Iger, with the amount of different lands that they have room for now, which is insane how many lands they have room for. And we've seen a lot of that in the Blue Sky Project announcements for D23. Will any of it be Star Wars? I would love to be some additions to Star Wars. I would love to see some additions to Galaxy's Edge. I think one of the big ones is Pandora going to Disneyland, which is kind of crazy because Disneyland does not seem like it has room, but apparently they have a way of figuring out making room in Disneyland. So as far as vacant space, I don't know how, unless they buy area around it. But yeah, who knows? If and when that'll happen here on the East Coast. I think a lot of unfortunate politics is getting away of that right now. And then the last thing tonight that was announced, and this was actually announced yesterday as well, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor are heading to 4K, Ultra HD, and Blu-ray. Are you still a physical media person? I have not been for quite some time, but I did purchase The Mandalorian Season 1 on Blu-ray. I think it was Blu-ray. I have it right over there, but I can't see it from here. Haven't watched it yet, but I like all the additional content because we don't get all the extra content on Disney Plus, which there's still a lot of stuff out there on the Blu-ray DVDs from the Star Wars episodes and the Clone Wars episodes that we just don't have access to on digital streaming. And I think that's where if you're that big of a fan and you really like to watch all that expanded content, I think that's where all of this comes in. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, I actually kind of started rewatching that as well recently. But both of these coming to Ultra HD Blu-ray, 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray and Blu-ray on April 30th. April 30th. So we get the new Star Tours stuff at the beginning of the month. We're going to get new physical media content at the end of the month. Yeah, so they're going to have premium steelbook packaging, have a lot of new bonus features, as well as exclusive concept art cards, which you can kind of see kind of laid out there for the Obi-Wan photo that I have up. And then a first look at even at the set's original key art by poster posse artist Attila Sarka, as well as a bunch of other features. So the Obi-Wan Kenobi Complete Series has a featurette entitled Duels of Fate, Obi-Wan versus Vader, where Deborah Chow, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen examine the lightsaber battles of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader that we saw in the series. There's a featurette called The Dark Times Villains, where we uncover the lore of the Deadly Inquisitors and Darth Vader's iconic look. Designing the Galaxy, where we get to look at Leia's lovable sidekick, Lola, I'm sorry, and explore the new planets of the Star Wars galaxy that we went to. Some really good ones in the Obi-Wan series. And then we have a really good director's commentary from Deborah Chow on the action-packed finale. So those are some of the features of Obi-Wan. Not a lot of features, extra features in that series. It is 2 discs, as you can see there. Some great artwork on the inside covers and the back cover. I love the back cover art of Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Eope, or the, what is it called? Eope? I don't know. I might be saying that wrong. But with the 2 sons of Tatooine, it just looks really, really cool. Love that art there. And then Andor as well, the complete first season of Andor, coming to same thing, Ultra 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray as well. Some of the featurettes in this box set are Ferrex Part 1, Imperial Occupation, where Tony Gilroy, Kathleen Kennedy, and Diego Luna discuss the series' origins. Aldhani, the Rebel Heist. Aldhani was the planet that the heist took place on, and we actually get to look at the actual shoot as it took place in Scotland with character spotlights, Rebel training stunts, and a VFX breakdown, as well as a bunch more. So I like that feature. Seems pretty awesome to be able to look at. Coruscant, Whispers of Rebellion, explore the stories of the ISB agents Deidre, as well as Senator Mon Mothma and Spy Master Luthen Rail, which is really cool. Narkina 5, One Way Out, that iconic moment that has just created such a great fan base at the conventions and at other locations as well. You know what I didn't hear about is if they did a One Way Out on the Disney Wish. Did they do a One Way Out on Disney Wish? I didn't hear anybody say anything about that. But this is one of the features: uncover the Empire's penal system and the prison's stark look, and get to know Kino Loy a little bit better, and which was Andy Serkis's character, and view VFX breakdowns as well on Narkina 5. And then Ferrex Part 2, Fight the Empire. Tony Gilroy, Diego Luna, cast and crew reveal the making of the season finale, which was one of the best Disney Plus series episodes of all time, was that season finale. I mean, Andor is still my favorite series, so I am most likely going to buy this one. The Obi-Wan Kenobi one, maybe. I don't know. But the Andor Complete Season 1, probably going to buy that one. So yeah, you can pre-order these March 12th if you really want them on time, or you can just wait until April the 30th is when they come out. So could be a May the 4th gift for your Star Wars loved one. Of course, if you're buying gifts for your Star Wars loved one, maybe you're not a Star Wars fan and you're probably not watching this podcast. But anyway, I'm glad that you watched this podcast if you watched it this evening. I know we didn't have any live tonight. Wednesday is not my normal night. Usually I get more people joining in on Tuesdays, and I apologize for that. I really kind of want to move this to Wednesdays, honestly, just because I really like hanging out with people on Tuesday. And sometimes I stay out a little bit later on Tuesday nights, and then I can't do this podcast because I'm just either crazy tired or I don't get home in time. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you're watching this later, please subscribe to this podcast. Please subscribe. Hit those notifications so that you get to know when I go live at any time, and then you can join in with any discussions. So again, really appreciate everyone. Remember, until next time, which tomorrow I will be back because I have my Jeep back. I'm going to be going live 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not long ago in this galaxy, on my Instagram page. Follow me there, the Crucial Crew member. But until next time, until next week, which we will definitely talk about Bad Batch, the episode that came out this week, as well as more Star Wars talk. And we'll have a crucial character pick next week. We're going to have a crucial character pick next week. But until next time, remember, watch some Star Wars, listen to some Star Wars, play some Star Wars, read some Star Wars, but most importantly, remember, may the stars light your way. Have a great week, everyone.